Is she alive? Scotch Tape asked shrilly. No, I wasn't alive. Life wasn't this. This was another nightmare. My lungs throbbed like they were on fire as they sucked in watery air, spasmed and coughed again. My stomach clenched as it tried to void itself yet again, but had nothing to bring up. I felt hooves holding me down as I jerked and coughed and gasped yet again. Life wasn't black like this. Sweet goddesses, her eyes! I heard a mare say, oil can, I think? Give her a Hydra! Give her one right now! Glory demanded. I remembered how, weeks ago, she'd gone on and on about how horrible Hydra was, how damaging to my systems it was. But there was something different now. Something had changed. With its last firing of folly, I felt as if something vital had been touched. Something integral had been corrupted. And as the Hydra helped soothe the searing pain in my face, the blackness endured. Glory started to sob. Give her another, please. I felt her wing on my wet cheek. It won't do anything, Oil Can protested weakly. From the faint swooshing of the water talisman in the rocking, I guessed as we were on the seahorse. Give her another goddess-damned Hydra! Glory screamed. She collapsed over me, weeping as I gasped for air, holding me tight. I lifted a hoof. No, it didn't feel like a hoof. I didn't know what that appendage was, but everything about it moved wrong. Other voices started to rise their concerns as my condition changed from dead to not dead. Lacuna had shown me. I'd stared into a mirror. I'd seen what I'd become. A thing. A thing that used to be a pony. As I lay there with all the panicked chatter, I heard the soft whisper of Lacuna in my mind. I'm sorry. Yeah, I thought softly back at her. Then I cleared my throat. Stop. No more. Please. No more. Glory held me even tighter as she shook, and hot liquid trickled down my cheek as she cried for me. Blackjack. What happened to Celestia? To the Rangers. Who gives a fuck what happened to them? P-21 snarled. They're dead, or they should be. Every last one of them. I winced at the anger in his voice, trembling and tight. I give a fuck, P-21, I said as evenly as possible. The ship blew up and rolled over. Lacuna said softly, Capri and Pisces were in the water. They looked all over for you. The Rangers had to fall back to the Applejack. Reapers had finally breached the base, and everything was blowing up. I don't know who else survived. Was it me, or was there additional worry in that soft mental voice? Where's Rampage? I asked as I strained my ears. P-21 said in a slightly less furious voice. She's chained herself to the front of the boat. She says not to let us get her within 20 feet of you. Oh, yes, I had imagined that the murderess in her was just aching to give me peace. And Capri and Pisces are okay? I asked, then coughed hard again. I still felt like I had water filling my lungs. Ugh, drowning sucked. I gagged and choked and fought for every breath. P-21 got us out while you were getting shot at, came a slightly distant voice of Capri. We just did what any sea pony would do, she said softly. Shooby-doo, Pisces echoed quietly. But how did they catch you in the first place? Scotch asked. We came down to get some sort of navigation thingy for the Orions. But this time, there were Rangers salvaging cells off the Luna. They had spear guns with tethers, and I got harpooned. I got caught trying to save her, Pisces murmured. They said that they were spying for the Reapers, and that Steel Rain bastards said that we were enemies of the Rangers. They were going to shell the college next. Said they were going to use a balefire shell. A what? What? Had every pony discovered mega spells and balefire bombs and shoved them into everything they could? What was next? Balefire artillery? Balefire tanks? Your own personal balefire gun? Balefire armor? Balefire snack cakes? You saved us all. The professor, my family, all of it, Capri said amid the splashing. Thanks, Pisces sniffled. I lay there in Glory's hooves. Consider it payment for Gemini and Taurus. From the waves came a mad sniffle, then a splash. Tar Boots cleared his throat. Steel Rain must have been planning a coup for months. He couldn't have just used the gun with the Elder still in charge. You just forced everything out in the open. I'm pretty sure the Hoofington Rangers are finished now. They don't have a base to fall back to, and we'll probably have to pull back to Trottingham or Manhattan. I sighed at the stupidity and waste. I'd seen what the Rangers could accomplish at their best. A hoofful could save the lives of dozens if they were so inclined to do so. And some were. I was glad I'd met Paladin Stronghoof, fruit salad and crumpets. That I'd seen the decency before all the callousness and cruelty. I'd wanted to end the war, though, and it looked like I'd succeeded. Yay. What about the Reapers? I asked. I imagined I could hear P21 grinding his teeth that I'd even asked about them. I don't know. Some of them were shooting at the base. After the gun fired, though, I think they were pulling back. I don't know. Urlacan murmured. There was a long silence. A terrible silence. Finally, Scotch Tape asked, What are we going to do now? Glory gave a little gasp. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take Blackjack to Sanguine, give him the frickin' pip buck, and he's going to fix her. That's what we're going to do. I wanted to protest, but the water still in my lungs turned my objection into a spasm of coughing and hacking. I struggled to tell her not to do it. No. I managed to get out. I'd seen what would come of that. Maybe it was a nightmare. Maybe it was something more. I couldn't let her. Yes, Blackjack. We're going to make you better. We're going to get you fixed up. And you are not going to argue with me on that. Glory insisted as I started to thrash about, struggling. I coughed harder and harder. Relax, Blackjack. It's the right thing to do. I wished that I'd been left down there. I wished that they hadn't found me. If I were dead, my friends could move on and not accept Sanguine's damned offer. But worse, I was sure that there was damage done to me that he couldn't fix. He might replace my organs, but the taint inside me would just corrupt the new ones too. Something inside me had changed, and this wasn't a solution. I felt something against my horn, something smooth and round. No, not right now. But I wasn't exactly with it as I coughed and struggled. Once I'd fallen into memory orbs by accident. Then I'd had to fight my way in. Now I fought to stay out. But some treacherous part of me made contact as I heard Glory and P21 begin to argue. Don't do it, Glory. Please. Just let me go. Once more, I was in a memory orb that I didn't particularly want to be in. I wanted to tell her that I wasn't worth it. But unlike those other times, I was simply too tired to even try and attempt the impossible task of breaking myself free prematurely. I simply sat back in the mind of some other pony and took a little solace at being able to see again, even if it was through some pony else's eyes. At least it was some pony familiar. I knew this buck well now. His stride, his horn. He felt older, though, tired and a bit sore. He walked through the halls of Blue Blood Manor with a slow and ponderous step. Downstairs were worried shouts of dozens of concerned ponies. He stood in front of the mirror. There were touches of gray in his emerald mane, and shadows around his eyes. Distantly, I could hear the soft wail of the Hoofington Air's raid siren. He pulled his dress uniform into place, sucked in his gut before latching the belt into a notch. Finally, he nodded with a sigh. As he walked back out and slowly down the hall, the door opened and a young Pegasus mare in a white uniform peeked out at him with worried blue eyes.
Master Vanity, is everything going to be all right? Isn't it?
He smiled softly at her. Of course, Harpka. His eyes looked past her at the foals sitting together in a nervous circle. How are the children?
Frightened, Master Vanity. Terribly so, she said in a meek little voice. As am I. I'm telling them all about Wigglehoof and the Wandering Wolves. They're worrying about the shouting, though.
A fine story, Harpka. Keep them quiet. Stay inside. He said softly, then stepped closer to the door and addressed the fillies and colts. I expect all of you to be on your best behavior. Listen to Harpka, little ones. She'll keep you safe. He beamed a smile at them and received several nervous smiles in return.
Yes, Lord Vanity,
they replied, nodding obediently. Keep them safe, Harpka, he said, giving her a little nuzzle between the eyes. She sniffed and nodded.
You're better than your name, Master Vanity.
Step by step, he made his way down the stairs. The entrances had sandbags and ponies with machine guns in place. From outside, over the wail of the siren, rose the roar of an angry mob. They were screaming to be let in, their shouting filled with frequent insults. Walking away from the entrance, he trotted further in. The shouts dwindled to nothing, and the air raid siren was barely audible over the sound of the orchestra playing. The ballroom was filled with fancy ponies, gathered in knots and groups and talking in low tones. The fear was evident in all their faces. A dapper buck with a snowy mane trotted over into the hall. I say, that mob outside is getting quite unruly. Shouldn't we be evacuating to the stable? A blue unicorn mare, who looked like she was barely a quarter his age, moved up beside him. The Skyguard ordered us to land before we could reach Canterlot. My little Rosette here is quite terrified. He sighed, levitating a monocle as he looked down the hall at the barricade. I fear that everything has gone quite wrong. Vanity sighed softly. I'm sorry, Fancy Pants. I'm going to look into it right now. He gave a polite nod to the pair and continued down the hall. Soldiers hauling boxes of ammo galloped out. He trotted into a study. What do you mean they're not coming? We've given you a fortune for this very occurrence. Blue Blood yelled at the terminal of his desk. Like his younger sibling, his mane was shot through with gray. You can't do this. I demand to speak to the director immediately, Garnet. On the screen, a color terminal? I guess it made sense for someone as rich and stuck up as Blue Blood to have something like that. Was a ruby-red mare who wore a decidedly smug smile.
The director is otherwise occupied, Blue Blood, as am I,
the mare said with a snort and an annoyed look that slowly turned malicious.
Save your own ass, Blue Blood.
You dare! Her laugh cut him short.
Of course I dare. I wanted to see this look on your face for years, and now I finally have. By the way, did you get the memo I sent the locals? Have they broken down your door yet?
The Crimson Mare's lips curled gleefully.
I hope they all live long enough to string you up.
Blue Blood stared at her in stunned silence. Her dark eyes turned to Vanity. Her sneer faded.
Prince Vanity?
Lord Vanity! Blue Blood snapped. I am the prince of this family. Both ignored the seething stallion. Garnet, am I correct in understanding that you will not be evacuating us to the redoubt?
That is correct, Prince Vanity. The director apologizes, but he is seeing to other needs of the kingdom.
You understand that there are children here. He didn't shout. He kept his voice even, low, and calm. She smiled again.
Certainly, but this is a crisis. We can't save...
There is enough room for thousands, Garnet, he interrupted. His voice hardened as he stared at the screen. Are you saying you are leaving children here to die? We can send them to you. A black earth pony mare ran up behind Garnet.
We have to go, now,
she said, and then darted away.